Archaeologists once dug up the skeleton of a medieval nun. At first, nothing seemed unusual until they looked at her teeth. There, trapped in the hardened plaque, were flecks of bright blue, the color of crushed gemstones. Why would a nun eat paint? And how did this tiny detail rewrite what we know about history? This is the strange, forgotten story of the nun who ate paint. In 2014, a team of scientists studied a woman buried in a small German monastery around the year 1100. Her bones told a simple story. She was an ordinary nun, living and dying quietly within convent walls. But when researchers examined her teeth under a microscope, they found something impossible: flecks of ultramarine blue. Ultramarine wasn't just any pigment. It came from lapis lazuli, a gemstone mined in Afghanistan, carried across dangerous trade routes and worth more than gold in medieval Europe. This color was so rare it was reserved for sacred art, paintings of the Virgin Mary, or lavish illuminated manuscripts. So how did this nun in a modest convent end up with it in her mouth? Scientists considered the possibilities. Had she swallowed it as medicine? No. Lapis was far too expensive to waste in that way. Could she have handled it as a merchant? No. Nuns didn't trade in gemstones. There was only one answer left. She was an artist. The pigment had entered her mouth because she was painting manuscripts and habitually licking the tip of her brush to make a fine point. Every stroke of her brush left a trace, building up inside her teeth and staying there for nearly 900 years. That tiny habit revealed something historians never expected. For centuries, scholars believed that the great illuminated manuscripts of the Middle Ages were created only by men, monks in silent scriptoria. But this nun's teeth proved otherwise. Women in convents were also skilled scribes and artists, quietly working on sacred texts that shaped medieval faith. Most of their names were lost, erased from history, but this nun's mouth carried evidence that couldn't be ignored. With every brushstroke, she challenged the story historians had been telling for centuries. Lapis lazuli itself tells another story. Mined in the mountains of Afghanistan, it traveled thousands of miles across Asia, through Persia, across the Mediterranean, into Europe, and finally into the hands of a nun in Germany. Its journey shows how interconnected the medieval world really was. And in her quiet convent, she used it not to show off wealth, but to bring sacred manuscripts to life, illuminating the Word of God in the deepest blue known to man. So yes, this nun ate paint, but not carelessly. Every fleck of pigment in her teeth was a mark of devotion, art, and skill. And her discovery forced historians to admit that women's hands had shaped medieval culture far more than we once believed. Sometimes the smallest trace, a speck of color trapped in a tooth, is enough to rewrite history. And it makes us wonder, how many other secrets still lie buried, waiting to be uncovered?